We all know the Spider-Man 3 emo memes, and everyone online keeps reminding us that the movie sucks. But does it really? How do those infamous scenes work in the concept of the entire movie? Can I ignore preconceived notions while watching the movie? Hi there, it's Micha. Stick with this review and you will find out. Peter and MJ are finally together, but while the city loves his alter ego, her acting career goes down the toilet. It doesn't help that our hero really buys into the fanfare and is so full of himself that she can barely stand being around him or to confide in him, especially after he publicly kissed socialite Gwen Stacy in the same upside down way MJ always perceived to be their own special way. Meanwhile, Harry, knowing Peter's secret, is following in his dead father's footsteps and becomes a new iteration of the Green Goblin, preparing his revenge by killing Spider-Man. But this time he is not the only one after Peter.
We have some new information. This is your uncle's actual killer.
As the real killer of Uncle Ben escaped from prison and was turned into the Sandman, a creature consisting of and being able to control sand. And as Spidey is crossing his way one time too many, he lands on Sandman's list of enemies. Then there's also an alien symbiote following Peter, which bonds with his Spidey suit, turning it black and having a massive impact on Peter's mind whenever he wears the alternate outfit. After a short stint as a massive douchebag, our hero manages to get rid of the symbiote, which finds its way to Eddie Brock, a shady competing photographer, who loses his job after Peter revealed one of his photos of Spidey robbing a bank is a fake. Oh, and it didn't help Eddie's mood that Peter, in the asshole phase, also made a move on his girlfriend Gwen Stacy. After bonding with the symbiote, Eddie becomes Venom and teams up with Sandman to get rid of the hero. What ensues is a mega fight in which every one of the participants has to take a close look at themselves and where they stand, especially Harry. Okay, I made it through the movie with a pretty much objective mindset. Sure, the emo scenes with Peter are tough to watch, but they kinda work in the larger context of the movie. We are supposed to be off-put by Peter for his behavior, and we are. So far so good. The issue is more that the scenes are just lazy, as the screenwriters seem to think that to portray an unsufferable jerk, it is enough to make him dress in black, wear his hair in an emo fashion and overconfidently dance in the streets like a failed yet narcissistic chorus line dancer. It just isn't enough, and on top of this, I think the dance scenes, especially in the jazz club, are supposed to look cool and elegant. But they are not. It looks staged, is oddly executed and filmed from a weird vantage point, making it look cheesy and stiff. And while we're at it, the acting is kinda bad in parts this time, which is surprising, as we have the same main cast and the same director. Especially Tobey Maguire is apparently only using 3 different facial expressions in this one. Looking in the camera with doe eyes, staring blankly in the distance, and trying to look angry, where he could be the face double of Joaquin Phoenix. And he is not always choosing the right expression for any given occasion. The screenplay took a lot of heat from critics for trying to tackle too much at once, having 3 villains this time, with one being so iconic, speaking of Venom here, that fans complained about him being underused and badly portrayed by Topher Grace, who had to suffer a shitstorm for his performance. Honestly, the issue is not that they try to take on too much, it is the way they do it. It is not good fan service to use Venom as a throwaway character and never even learn much about him, especially the symbiote in this movie. By the way, I was baffled at first that the symbiote bonded with Spidey's suit and not Peter himself. After a quick internet research, I found out that this is the original way Venom was first introduced in the comics, with Eddie Brock becoming a later host. In the context of the movie though, it is still not clear why then, dropping on Eddie, the symbiote directly bonds with him. Casting-wise, Topher Grace might not have been a perfect choice, but no one would have shown in this role. Not the way it was written. He was set up to fail and his career unfairly suffered for it. And boy was the role written poorly. In the comics, Brooke is also hitting rock bottom when the symbiote arrives. But faking photos of Spider-Man? What a convenient screenplay tweak, which Venom surely didn't deserve. Brooke ends up being a one-dimensional, arrogant and underdeveloped character. The lack of character development is apparent in every aspect of the movie, like with Gwen Stacy, Peter's other iconic love interest from the comics, who is here just thrown in without any thought and function other than to make MJ jealous.
That was all for her? I'm so sorry.
This is not fair to her and to her comic character's fans. Why even bring in a second female character when the screenplay not even takes enough time to develop one? Again, both are just there to be damsels in distress and to entertain the male characters, and to create tension between them. They have no further function in the movie. For a moment I even thought they would turn MJ into a character we are supposed to despise, when she became jealous of Peter's success and fame. Fortunately he acted accordingly jerky, so we were with her, but that still didn't do much to elevate her role. As for the Sandman, he is introduced as a loving father, but then continues his violent life of crime given the chance. He even teams up to kill Spidey. His motivation is never clear, as his goal was to raise money for his daughter's surgery, which he could likely have done more quietly and without violence, like slipping into a vault in form of fine sand. At the end, of course, he also stops his evil deeds in the most convenient moment for no apparent reason. As he joins the heroes in the comics after a stint as villain, this may make sense, but his actions before this moment does not. This, by the way, makes him the only surviving villain in the original Spider-Man trilogy. Let's see if that is relevant in the new MCU entry Spider-Man No Way Home. And while we're at it, what is going on in this trilogy? In each movie the villain is created by a failed experiment, and Sandman is no exception. But here he literally stumbles into it, and there's no further explanation as to who conducted that experiment and what their goal was. Weird. The screenplay also regurgitates a lot from the prior movies. Again, Peter puts away his costume, here in favor for the black iteration, just to ceremonically takes it out again. And again he needed an encouraging voice, here in form of Aunt May, to get back into the action. Same for Harry, who is guided by his butler to return to his former self. Interesting though that he believes his butler but would rather kill his best friend than believe his words. And why did Peter not use Harry's amnesia to come clean and tell his side of the story? A second chance not used. Oh, and of course, after lying to MJ for years, Peter still keeps secrets that ends up putting her in danger. Why not share with her that Harry seeks revenge and that Norman was the Green Goblin? That is another dick move on Parker's behalf. One might really start to think this guy really is a jerk. But let's step back again for a second. Amnesia. Really? This is one of the cheapest and overused story devices ever. Shame on you. On the plus side, the effects are again better as in the previous one, which was to be expected. A bit of a surprise was that they have taken a completely different approach this time, where the camera is more dynamic, following the action closely. That is also used to hide some CGI imperfections, but also sometimes comes at the cost of not really being able to follow what actually happens at any given time. There's also a callback to the cheeky skeleton effect from part 1, but it is so quickly done here and hidden inside an explosion that you need to look closely so you don't miss it. By the way, this movie unfortunately has no early appearance by a now known actor who were unknown back then, like the first two movies had in petto. But we have another nice role for Bruce Campbell, who this time has a more sympathetical role as the maître d' of the upscale restaurant in which Peter plans to propose to MJ. Hilarious. Let's get to the rating. There really is a lot to dislike in this movie, no doubt about that. Gender roles feel very dated, even worse as in the first two movies. It is still entertaining though, and it is still a solid superhero movie, just not one to rave about. Therefore I will rate it with 6 out of 10 points, still above average and entertaining, but not really good. By the way, again I watched the theatrical cut. There's also a so-called editor's cut, which is supposed to tune down the emo stuff a bit. I haven't watched it though. If I ever do, I might create a short follow-up video for it. But that is unlikely to happen anytime soon. What is your take on this last entry in the original trilogy? Did you hated it? Loved it? Or went meh? Do you agree with my review? Let me know in the comments. That's it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, like it and feel free to share it with your friends. And why not subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any future video. Make sure to also hit the notification bell to get a heads up whenever a new video is posted. So much for now, see you next time and thanks for watching.